Kandia Haynesworth Designs, and thank you so much for joining in on my new series called Home and Headquarters, where you get to watch me transform a 100-year-old vintage townhouse into a new home for myself and new headquarters for my home-based embroidery personalization business. You are looking at that ottoman that I purchased from the Goodwill for $2.50, and you are looking at the materials that I plan to use to make it over. And so let's go through them. And so I got the fur from Hobby Lobby, okay? And so depending on what size your ottoman is, that you will get at Hobby Lobby. So it may be 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, and so forth, okay? And then I'm going to be using clips because this is a thick fabric, and so I'm not going to attempt to try to pin it when it's time to sew. And I am going to be using a measuring tape to measure around it, almost like if you were putting it around someone's waist. And then I'm going to be using another tape measure. I guess I can use the same thing just to do the height of it. I am going to have a marking tool so I can mark it out. Most importantly, I am using a utility knife. A utility knife or box cutter. Some people refer to this as a utility knife. I am using this instead of scissors. You do not want to use scissors to cut this fur. Matter of fact, take a look at me. I want to look you in your face when I tell you this. Okay, so you do not want to use a pair of scissors. You must use a box cutter or a utility knife, okay? If you do not, you are going to have fur everywhere. And so maybe you don't mind cleaning up fur, but I do. And so to avoid having fur everywhere, you want to use a utility knife or a box cutter, okay? And so it's not going to eliminate hairs and fibers and furs, but it will eliminate it being everywhere. So if you want to avoid that, no scissors. Box cutter, utility knife. Got it? I hope you do. The other thing that I forgot to tell you was I am going to cut the fur on the floor because I don't have a large table set up yet for cutting fabrics. But as you can see, I have my cutting surface, my cutting board. And so that's important because I don't want to mark up the floor when I am cutting this fur with the utility knife. And so if you are going to cut it on the floor or even on a table, make sure that you are protecting the surface. Okay, so to measure this, I'm going to be using a piece of tape just to hold the tape measure. I'm just going to come right here, put a piece of tape on, measure it all the way around, and it is 60 inches. 60 inches, and plus we have to add at least an inch for the seam allowance. So that's going to be 61 inches in around. Okay, and so to measure the feet, not the feet, matter of fact, I have to take the feet off. But to measure this, what I'm going to do, the size, the height of it rather, I'm going to add an inch and then bring it around, because remember I have to overlap it. So that's going to give me 17 inches, okay? And so that gives me enough room. Now I have to take these feet off. Let's try to figure out how we're going to get these feet off. Okay, so it has these little prongs in there, which is fine. So I'm just going to pry all the feet off, and then we're going to cut the fabric for this ottoman. So I guess when I go to put it back on, all I have to do is just bang it with the hammer. That's easy. Maybe I'll even paint the feet as well. Okay, so I got 2 yards of this faux fur, and instead of laying it out like so and cutting it to length, I'm actually going to turn it around, because if I do it like that, then I will run out of material. This faux fur was $16.99 a yard. However, I used a 40% off coupon, so I got 2 yards. So it's not super cheap, but it's not as expensive as buying an Ottoman that was already made with fake or faux fur. Okay, so we're going to turn it this way. When I measure it down this way, what happens is this measures down to 32 inches wide. And so if I cut 2 pieces at 32 inches wide times 17 inches in height and sew it together, that's going to give me a long strip of 64 inches. And remember, we measured the Ottoman to be 61 inches, so I'll have more than enough. So to do that, I am going to just fold this so this is out of my way, like so. And if you notice, I have it face down, so that's another thing too. You are not going to cut this with the faux facing you. Otherwise, you will have it all over the place. Excuse me if my body is blocking the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from here down, and I'm going to actually measure it down to 18 because that top part doesn't look even. So I'm going to measure it to 18. So right here. And then I'm going to draw a line all the way across. Excuse my body, I'm sorry guys. And then I'm going to take my box cutter or my utility knife and I'm just going to cut along that line there. And remember, I am cutting on my cutting board. The cutting board is very forgiving. It's used to a blade because this is for like a rotary cutter. And so, there you have it. So that's one part. So I'm going to do the other part and then I'm going to do another piece and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so the way I've clipped this is almost like a tube. I've clipped it on this side and I've clipped it on that side. And we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch it down here and down here so we can open it up and do a dry fit onto the Ottoman before we cut out the top part and sew it on. So I'll meet you at the sewing machine. So when sewing fur, you want to use a zigzag stitch and you want to use a wide zigzag stitch. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this a couple times just to make sure that it is secure because this is really thick. Okay. And so go slow too. So I'm going to put this on a slower setting. Today I am using the Brother & Novus 2500D. It is a sewing and an embroidery machine combination, but these days I just use it for sewing. I no longer embroider on this. This is good for portable use. A lot of people ask me what kind of embroidery machine to start off with, and they don't want to go along with the PE 770, which I heard that they discontinued. They want something better. This is a good starter machine. Not this one though. They have an upgraded one, so I wouldn't get the 2500D unless you're buying it used. But all of their Novus brands are good. Okay, and so let's get started. So I am going to just reach through here. Sorry about that, but I need to get this under. And I'm going to be using a black thread so you can see what I'm doing, because you're not going to see it once I turn it out, because it's so much hair. Okay, and I'm just going to go to the end here, put it down. I don't know if you can even see. Okay, And so I'm going to put my needle in place. All right, and I'm going to do a back stitch again. All right, and so I'm going to take the first clip off. It would be really impossible to do this with straight pins, so I wouldn't try. Okay, let's do it. So as you can see, it's going very slow because this is a workhorse. This baby she can sew. So I'm doing it very slowly just to make sure that I have full control over what's going on here. So I'm just going to finish this out, and then I'll do the other side, and then I will meet you to try it onto the Ottoman. Okay, so now let's try it on. I did 2 sets of zigzag stitches, okay, and so as you can see, I stitched it twice, all right, because I just wanted to really make sure that when it's being pulled on, the stitches are not popping out. So I'm going to turn this right side out, and I'm just going to slip this over the Ottoman just to make sure that it fits, and it does. It's nice. I actually could have made it a little bit tighter, actually, because I have some room here, and I think I will. So see, that's why it's always good to do a dry fit, because then it would have been too loose. All right, so I want to take it back to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to take, maybe sew it right here, just about a half an inch, just so we can get a nice tight snug fit. Then I'm just going to measure the circumference of the top part of the Ottoman, and then clip it on and sew it on. Okay, so now it's time to measure out the fake fur for the top part. So I left an inch all the way around. So I'm just going to, oh, I'm doing this all wrong. I'm just making out a template, really. So I know from the start that this is going to be too big, but I'm okay with that, because again, I'd rather it be too big than too small. So what I'm going to do now is just cut this circle out. So I wanted to show you how I am going to clip this before I take it to the sewing machine. And so, okay, so we got the tube here that we sewed for the sides of the slip of the Ottoman and the slip cover. It doesn't matter which side you go with. And so the fur is in the inside. We are going to place the fur in the inside as well, facing the inside. And I am going to start with the seam here. Okay. And so I'm going to place one side there. See that? And I'm going to put a clip here. Right? And so just going to pair up the edges of the slip cover with the top part of the Ottoman slip cover, and I'm just going to do edge to edge and then put a clip on. I'm going to do that all the way around, edge to edge, and then put a clip on. And so what you're going to find is that all of the fur is located in the inside, and you're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew it all the way around, once again using that zigzag stitch, and then you just turn it inside out or right side out. And so I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and then I will meet you back here to do another try on. Okay, so we are finished, and what I also did was I did a zigzag stitch all the way around, and I sewed it twice because I wanted to make sure that when sitting on it, you know, it doesn't pop open, the seams doesn't pop open. So I'm just going to lay this and then turn it over like so. Oh, excuse me. And it's a nice snug fit. Gonna turn it around. Nice. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I love it. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I love that. I don't even think it needs the feet, to be quite frank, but I'm going to put the feet back on. But I don't even think it needs the feet. I want to turn it over so I can see. I'm going to bring it all the way down. Okay, so the staple gun that I'm using is the Merchant 41 brand. It is by Hobby Lobby. It is their store brand, I believe. And I am also using a heavy duty Staples, which is also the Merchant 41 brand as well. And so when you are stapling a fabric onto furniture, you want to go from side to side, side to side. You don't want to go all the way around. Okay, this way you can pull it nice and taut. So I'm just going to pull and staple. And I'm going to come down here and staple. I'm going to go back up and staple. Then I'm going to do it one more time and staple. Then I'm going to go to the side here and pull it and staple. And then this side and staple. Go back here. Okay, so I have put a layer of chalk paint on the feet. Didn't really need it because you're not going to see the feet anyway, but just to give it a more finished look. I didn't distress it or anything, and I'm just going to position them on to the board and then nail it back in place. That's pretty, well, not nail it, but hammer it back in place. It's pretty easy. And that's it, really. And so I'll do this all the way around, and then I'll turn it over so you can see the final outcome. So here is the finished product, and I absolutely love it. I cannot believe it. It just looks so good. Considering I was looking at a square shaped ottoman that was a little bit smaller for $129, I actually made this ottoman slipcover for less than $30, okay, because it was $16.99 times 2 yards at 40% off. And so I think it came down to like 20 bucks or $22 or something. And then the ottoman itself was $5, but it was 50% off at the Goodwill, so I paid $2.50 for it. And so this project was $30, not $129, $30. And it goes so well with my shabby chic vintage decor in my new office and consultation room. And so I am super pleased about this. And if you like this, or if you have done something like this, please send me a picture of it. I am just so excited about this all together. Thank you all once again for joining in on project number 9 of my new series called Home and Headquarters. And stay tuned because we have so much to talk about, you guys. I plan to come back on and live stream, but I have so many DIYs and projects that I want to share with you in this transition and in my progression of rebuilding my studio. And so you can always find me on Facebook at KandiaHaynesworth.com. You can find me on Pinterest at Kandia Haynesworth, and on Instagram at Kandia Haynesworth as well. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so and click that bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And if you are an embroidery enthusiast or hobbyist or a business owner, come join Embroidery Boss. Or if you are on Facebook and you love the Dollar Tree, join Dollar Tree Moneymakers. Those are my groups on Facebook that I host. And until then, I'll see you next time. I just want to also go over this once again. If you want to see me do the distressed finish, the weather distressed finish for this chair, I will post the link below. And once again, this is project number 10, the chair is, and this is project number 9. And stay tuned, because when we get down to 1, I am going to do a reveal of my new office and embroidery studio. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.